And we're back with Lantern, starting out on a Malta 6. Pretty good hand. I think these hands with multiple Urza Sagas are usually pretty good keeps, as it'll allow us to establish our lock fairly quickly and also provide that added threat of constructs. Definitely think you should be keeping hands with kind of multiple Sagas in bridge like this, as very strong game plan. We're going to lead on a Thoughtseize here, just see what we're up against. Makes more sense than the Stirrings. And we see double brought back Ephemerate and Muldrifter. Obviously, going to be doing some fetch land things, getting them back with brought back. Probably a lot of evoke creatures. Ephemerate definitely provides good value, but I think we take the Muldrifter here, kind of leaving them. We don't want that card draw. If they're ephemerating things like Solitude, again, that's fine. We can hide behind Bridge, and Muldrifter kind of is their only creature right now. So they're just going to run out of fetch land and pass. This is definitely a deck that isn't going to fetch very aggressively, as using brought back on turn 2 for a double fetch land is actually pretty good. The reasons we Stirrings here, I mean, I guess it's our only one drop. We're kind of looking for one half of Shredder and Lantern, and then our first Saga will get the other one. And we find exactly that here. Just grabbing a Shredder, running out a Saga. And yeah, like I talked about at the start, that's kind of the dual modality of Saga here, where A, it's going to find Lantern, but then B, it's also going to put a pretty decent clock on, as we're able to make some beefy constructs. Yeah, of course, just run out a Blooming Marsh here, and we're just going to pass through. We can Saga in a minute here, and they elect to fetch and then brought back after they evoke a Solitude by exiling one of their brought backs. Definitely a weird line here. I'm not sure if they didn't realize constructs were coming or if they have another answer for them. I mean, they're going to bring back a Solitude, but no targets, so strange line, but yeah, definitely it's fine. We mill a Golos, so again, looking like ETB, probably running things like Elish Norn, along with the different, could be Emeria with all the planes we've seen. And they're going to swing with a Solitude. We're going to make a blocker, force them to use the Ephemerate, which they do, and gain us a bit of life. And we're just going to run out a bridge here. I don't think, knowing that they have the other, that Ephemerate comes back, there's no real point in making a construct, as it's just going to get exiled, and we might as well get bridge down. Obviously, we grab Lantern, see a brought back. It's cool, but not too big of a deal if they're just bringing back like fetch lands and things. Can't bring back anything, only stuff that went to the graveyard. And so now that we're hiding behind bridge, I think we're in a pretty good spot here. They have two cards in hand. There's not a lot that those could be, and so we just elect to mill them here. And yeah, at this point we only got Lantern plus two rocks, and they concede here. You'll see in sideboarding, I think a key card is going to be Hushbringer that we bring in. So really I would strongly encourage watching the second game to really see the benefits of Hushbringer. For game 2, we're going to cut all of our prismatic endings. They don't really have too many low-cost permanents that we want to get rid of. And we're going to cut the cookbook because they usually have bigger creatures, so we're not really too worried about emptying our hand or Blood Moon. In terms of what we're bringing in, we're going to bring in the Spellskite, the Soulless Jailer, to shut down some of their brought back shenanigans, and we're bringing in Hushbringer. Hushbringer, as you'll see, is super key and a very important card for shutting this deck down. Unfortunately, we start on a Malta 5. Still a pretty good hand, but it gets a bunch significantly worse when they drop Leyline of Sanctity. So we'll have to see how we can fight through it. They're just going to start off fetch land and pass, and we rip a Soulless Jailer here. I think that's pretty good here. Hopefully, depending on what they have, definitely Solitude still is a pretty clean answer for it, but can slow them down. And they play an Emeria tapped, something to worry about for the long game. Not something too concerned about yet. It will definitely come up later. Kind of the longer the game goes will be more of an issue, but we do have ways of answering their graveyard. And so we elect to run out the Jailer here. I think if there were cards on top that I wanted to get rid of, like Saga is a nice card to have. I want to have it on top, but if there's something I want to get rid of, I think definitely going Stirrings plus Shredder would be the way to go. But there's generally not too much value in casting Stirrings if it's just the top card of your library that you want to get. So I generally delay it if the top card is a good one to draw anyway. And so we're going to pass back and forth here. They're just going to run out of planes and pass. Obviously, a lot of their deck is kind of slower, takes a bit longer to set up, but then has a very, very powerful late game. Yeah, so we're gonna kind of make constructs. We kind of want to be threatening enough here that they have to either spend some removal on them before some of our pieces later. And so again, like I said, they take a little bit to set up. Kind of unfortunate we can't put a super fast clock on them. Something like Burn would definitely do a better job getting aggro, but that's fine. We can play the long game too. They just randomly fetch here for no reason. Could be like a Leyline Binding or something, I guess is what we're inferring from that, but to be honest, we don't really know. We just elect to make some more constructs here, and we're going to go get Ghoul Color's Bell. Leyline of Sanctity is good, but the Bell affects both people, so it's kind of setting up the lock here. Not having to target either Bell or Pixis would work in this situation, but we're playing Bell. And then we run out Shredder, both to bump up our artifact count, and we can use it to control our own draws. So we're not really going to want to draw this Glimmer Void here. Just kind of look to get it out of the way. And yeah, we can start swinging with constructs. They don't have removal for the constructs. They are on a 2-turn clock. Fairly likely, I think that they have some form of removal, but making them use it on constructs is better than on a bridge. I do think we make a bit of a mistake here letting them draw Elesh Norn. My thinking at the time was kind of if they tap out to play Elesh Norn, we can force them to block it, and I kind of forgot to consider that they can Elesh Norn and then Solitude, and that gets us pretty good here. I think if Solitude wasn't around, then it would definitely be correct to let them draw it here, but just with Solitude we probably should not have let them draw it. You'll see how they have the Solitude here. Sorry, spoiler alert, but definitely think we should have gotten rid of it. But you learn. So we're gonna keep making constructs, trying to put enough pressure on them. The Jailer is nice here, kind of stops Emeria. Sure, they'll be able to answer it eventually. And we swing with both constructs here. We don't run out the Spellbomb because I think there's a chance we play Stirrings this turn, kind of waiting to decide which I want to play. And so they're going to go ahead and block. We'll make a construct just to threaten to kill the Elesh Norn, and they are going to go ahead and double Solitude here, which isn't great, but it is going to gain us a pretty good chunk of life, which does mean it's going to take a while if they just have to rely on Elesh Norn beats. So I think we're sitting, obviously not great here. Elesh Norn is a pretty strong card, but Spellbomb can kind of help the first time that Emeria happens, can really slow it down. And here is kind of where you get to see the power of Elesh Norn, as they're able to pay 3 and draw 4. And at this point I definitely think we're behind, as they're going to be able to see a large chunk of their deck. It is important to note if you draw multiple cards, you get to see them all with Lantern. So we're just going to let that happen. Surgical on top is fine. We're definitely going to take some of their answers. And we do see they draw Leyline Binding in hand. Again, we are going to need to find an answer for this at some point. Of course, Ingot Chewer here is going to be pretty bad. As we see, they're able to just draw, in one turn, they're able to draw 6 cards and blow up 2 artifacts. So definitely should have let Elesh Norn die. Here we see a Leyline Binding on top. So I think this is actually a very important play sequencing that sets us up really nice for the rest of the game, where we know we have Saga coming off next turn and Surgical on top. They are tapped out, so they can't cast the binding in hand, meaning no matter what they destroy, we're able to go get something to either remove Leyline or mill the binding and then surgical it, which will leave them with much fewer answers. I think this is kind of a really key line coming up here that allows us to win this game. They elect to blow up the Ghoul Caller's Bell and the Lantern. Yeah, I think this is pretty reasonable from them. And yeah, obviously this is bad for us, but we're not going to mill anything we want that's surgical. And then so here we kind of have two options as Saga resolves. We can either get a Ghoul Caller's Bell, mill both of us, and then surgical the Leyline binding that we know is on top, or we can get a Haywire Might, which exiles Leyline of Sanctity. And so I think you could argue for each, for either using the Shredder to get back a Lantern and then you have a Ghoul Caller's Bell. But I think because of the fact that we already have a Codex Shredder and how much our hand disruption is targeted, I think it's correct to get a Haywire Might here. And so that's what we do. We grab the Might and exile their Leyline, and then we're able to mill them and surgical the Leyline binding. Obviously we don't want to let them untap here, so we are going to take it. And then looking at their deck, they evoke a Solitude here. Just going to clear off the rest of our board. No real point in doing that in response to surgical. We couldn't do anything anyway. But yeah, so as we look at their deck, we see they basically don't have. They have one more Ingot Chewer. It's kind of their only answer to a bridge. Heartless Summoning, pretty cool tech when you're playing a lot of big creatures. So Ingot Chewer, Avalanche Riders can be a problem here as it's going to enter and destroy 2 lands. But Ingot Chewer and the one in the graveyard are their only answers to a resolved bridge if we can get it. And they obviously have a lot fewer cards in their library than we do, which is very good. And so we Stirrings, unfortunately no bridge or anything, and we are putting a Hushbringer on the bottom, which we don't love here, that's for sure. It's kind of, can we find a bridge time is what we're in. And yeah, we're going to really see the power of Elesh Norn and ETBs here. They're going to Golos, get a couple lands. They will be able to spin this next turn, and Emiria is turned on now, so we're going to have to use the Spell Bomb probably the first time they go to do it, just to stop that Ingot Chewer. And we're definitely behind here, but have outs. We're by no means dead, and we do draw a bridge. We'll run pretty good in the rest of this game, as you'll see. And we do mill and Avalanche Riders, so as the Emiria trigger will likely target Ingot Chewer, but we'll just be able to exile it with Spell Bomb. And we have the black up, so we're going to draw a card. Yep, like I said, they target the Ingot Chewer. We can't let that happen. We know they have one more, but we draw a Codex Shredder. Because of Elesh Norn, even if we draw a second bridge, Ingot Chewer will still kill us here, so we kind of need a Hushbringer very quickly. And they will see, so they're going to draw 4 cards. Again, just the strength of Elesh Norn when it's resolved, as this is kind of 2 turns in a row where they've drawn 6 cards. And then they run out an Avalanche Riders. Here, having the Echo cost is actually basically a net positive for them, as it's sacrificing and then coming back with Emiria, kind of every other turn blowing up 2 lands, is going to be basically impossible to come back from. Yeah, so we're in deep trouble, and we run like an absolute god and rip a Hushbringer off the top. Absolute, probably the most clutch draw of the game. Hushbringer just hard stomps their entire deck. They have no answer to this. We surgical Leyline binding, so the rest of their deck is entirely creatures with enter the battlefields. So Hushbringer just shuts it all down. Hushbringer, I think, super undervalued card in the current meta. Really good against Yawgmoth, a lot of the beans piles, kind of anything playing the elementals. I think it's super strong there. One deck I would not bring it in against is Scam. I don't think it's necessary there, and kind of a bit slow. So, but all the other decks that kind of rely on their ETBs, Titan, it can help stop the Titan ETBs so they don't get it haste, which makes it gives us a bit of time to resolve bridge. Great against goblins. Goblins and Yawg are kind of the main reasons it's in. Creativity, it's very good against, and here we see it absolutely stonewall an Elesh Norn deck. You know, they played out for a couple, for like one turn. I think they cast like 2 things, realized that none of them do anything with Hushbringer, and just concede right there. So they're gonna like bring a Muldrifter back. You know, we are gonna have to win by decking. If they didn't have Muldrifter, we could win in 8 turns with flying. But here, as we see, like with Golos, you know, they can spin it, but they have nothing really that they can spin into. They're gonna hit a Leyline, and yeah, Elesh Solitude does nothing, and they concede here. Hushbringer, super underrated card. I play 3 in my sideboard. I love them. I think they're a great inclusion in the deck. People aren't expecting creatures. They'll take a lot of their creature removal out. We can get them very, very easily. You know, that Surgical plus Hushbringer just completely shut off their entire deck. So would highly recommend keeping and including Hushbringer in your sideboard.